Food is at the center of every celebration, every holiday, and most every social event that we plan and attend. Whether it's Thanksgiving dinner, brunch with friends, or after work drinks, there's an unspoken expectation that we must eat or drink in order to participate. But what if you don't want to? How do we navigate a society that's obsessed with overindulgence in terms of food and beverage? I'm Jackie Elmer. In this video, we're going to dive into why food dominates social life, especially for women, and how that can derail our health goals, create pressure, and leave us feeling stuck in an endless cycle of overeating, overdrinking in order to just fit in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com so we can continue to discuss these important topics. Let's talk about mindful eating in a culture that's obsessed with food, alcohol, and the overindulgence that often happens. It's 6 a.m., it's 12 noon, it's 6 p.m. It's time to eat. But are you even hungry? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why have we allowed ourselves to be dictated to and involved in a culture that tells us that the normal thing to do is eat 3 times a day? Now, for some of us, we might eat 5 to 6 times a day if we factor snacks into that. I'm not a snacker. If you follow my channel at all, you'll know a little bit more about that. Let's talk about the role of food in society. Food, as we know it, is a symbol of hospitality, of celebration, togetherness, happiness, joy, rewards. There's such a big reward system. Think about kids, don't cry and I'll give you a cookie, or get 100% on the test and you get a chocolate bar. From homes to schools to grandparents' house, whatever it is, we've learned to use food as a reward system and something that is highly acceptable in society as part of what we do. How different cultures place importance on eating together is just a big part of life. And it's interesting because it doesn't really matter where you travel to. I've experienced this in cultures all around the world. Now, one thing I will say is that here in America, where I live, we do have a tendency to overindulge and serve up such huge portions that no wonder we don't let anything go to waste on our plate, and it all goes to waste on our bodies. I know that when I travel to Europe, for instance, most often portion sizes are smaller, and yet when I look around, what I see is a healthy society, not nearly as much obesity or people who are overweight. So that tells me that we don't need to eat as much as we do in order to stay fit and healthy. The downside of all of this is that when food becomes an expectation rather than a choice, it can really create a spin cycle of challenges for us as we go along. Now, women especially feel this pressure. And again, I don't want to overgeneralize because there are a lot of men who feel the pressure too. But I have observed over the last decade, for sure, as I became so much more aware of food and food choices, I have become aware of men having an easier time passing on something or not serving up a vegetable that they don't care for. I'm thinking about my own husband, certainly, or different things like that. Whereas in a conversation once with a close friend, we were talking about expectations of food, and she said, I never don't eat what's put in front of me when I'm eating at someone's home. And I said, that's really interesting because food in so many ways is such a personal thing. When you think about our likes and our dislikes, for me, I'm a texture person. I love tomatoes anyway but raw. And really more than anything, it comes down to the jelly, seedy, that I don't love with tomatoes. Now, I know everybody from my mom on down has tried to hide tomatoes for me, and I eat them in anything. I'll eat sun-dried tomatoes right out of the jar, any type of cooked tomatoes, salsa, spaghetti sauce, any of that. I love it. I just don't love raw tomatoes. And more than anything, it's a texture issue. I don't love shrimp either, and part of it's that. So I can go back through a series of things that I don't really care to ingest. I don't eat organ meats. I've shared that before too. And so I relieved myself a long time ago of the expectation that I was going to not listen to my own body, my own mind, and my own inner intelligence in order to please someone else. I don't ever have any expectations of anyone when they're in my home or dining with me. I understand that food is and should be a choice, and that's fine. But for women, so often we feel that pressure. We are also typically the ones who put together the social gatherings, whether it's the holiday events, holiday parties, brunch, happy hours, entertaining in our homes, planning different events. And so we often feel this pressure to make sure that food and beverage is a big part of it. Now, I recently hosted a Galentine's Day brunch, which is February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And I chose to make that an alcohol-free event. First of all, it was not a weekend. It was a Thursday, if I remember right. And it was morning. We started at 9:30, and a lot of people had other events throughout the day and into the evening. I personally had two other events to attend. So I didn't want to partake in alcohol. I didn't want to be drinking and driving, and I didn't want to set my guests up that way either. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to choose to not serve alcohol. And guess what? It was fine. There may have been a few people who missed it. Nobody said a word, and we did great. And everybody was fully present, able to drive, and I didn't have any of the stresses over that. And so often we have the societal norm that says, oh, it's a party, it's a special event, just treat yourself or have just one. And all of us know, well, most of us, let me not speak for all of us, but let me say that most of us know and have experienced those times when we couldn't stop at just one, whether it's one Lay's potato chip, one margarita, whatever it is. And so that can create a real challenge when we're really trying to balance out our health issues, whether it be chronic illness or just wanting to stay fit, functional, and have longevity. And so often saying no can be a challenge because it feels like we're breaking some kind of social rule. Now, drop me a comment below and let me know if you have ever experienced this, if what I'm saying is landing with you and you're nodding your head going, yeah, I can kind of relate to that. And again, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and grab my guide over at lowertoxiclife.com. Now, the holidays are notorious for this. Not only overeating, over drinking, but just overindulging in general. I know it starts typically mid-October with holiday parties, Oktoberfest, holiday festivity, or, October and Halloween festivities. It works its way right on into November and Thanksgiving here in the United States, and then on into Christmas and on into New Year's if we're not careful with all of that. And there are so many emotional ties that we have to traditional foods, family meals, without really thinking, that may have been what I had in the past, but does it really serve me and does it serve my body at this time? Now, you can look in my playlists. I have a whole playlist on my gluten-free, healthy swaps for Thanksgiving. I have some of those for Christmas too, and I'm adding more and more to different holiday seasons to help you hack the holidays in a healthy way for your food choices. But holiday feasts can truly throw off those mindful eating habits that we like to incorporate in. Now, I've said a million times, I'm the 80-20 girl, actually the 90-10, but 80-20 is a good philosophy to run your life under. And 80-20 basically says 80% of the time, I'm going to be a purist, right? I'm going to set my goals, make my plan, set my eating routine, know exactly what I'm going to eat for the day, for the week, whatever it is. So we're going to do those things and we're going to be great 80% of the time. And then 20% of the time, we're going to allow ourselves intentionally and mindfully to step off the 80 train and get on the 20% train and throw a little bit of caution to the wind. Now, even with that, I highly recommend that you don't just go crazy on any of that, but allow yourself the opportunity to pick and choose mindfully what are those foods, what are those beverages, what are those events that really matter to you when you're going to do that. So, there's some good strategies behind all of that. For holiday parties or any type of party, eat before you go. And then you can nibble. A lot of times with holiday parties and that type thing, you can kind of nibble as you go. And even the full sit-down dinner for most people for holidays is typically buffet style. Not all of them, certainly. But again, you can pick and choose those things that best serve you, best serve your body, and best serve your goals. And don't be afraid to be prepared to say, hey, I am really on a health kick lately, and I'm loving how I'm feeling. I'm loving the weight loss I've experienced. I'm loving how I'm sleeping. I'm loving how my skin feels. So I'm going to stick to my regimen. When you're prepared to address the situation with others, you will find that most often they just kind of let it go. They're not really there to make you wrong or change you or change your thoughts. Again, how you handle it sets everything up for success. And quite often you'll find that you give them permission also to indulge or not indulge and really honor their body and their goals as well. Now, there can be a certain stigma with saying no. Again, if you allow there to be, if you allow yourself to feel judged or left out when you're not eating and drinking, that's kind of up to you. I know when I really started my alcohol-free phase, a lot of people would say, come on, just have fun, just have one because you're more fun. And I remember thinking, what about that makes it more fun for you? Why does it matter for you? You're having plenty of fun. And what I've learned to do is just be light with all of it. I'm not going to judge anybody for their food or beverage choices, and I'm not going to judge myself either, except in a positive way. I now have no problem going out to dinner and saying, I am going to choose not to eat. I'm going to have a beverage, but I have a food cutoff time at 4 p.m. I've been trying something new. I've been feeling and sleeping great, and I want to spend the time with you, but I want to make sure it's not going to make you feel uncomfortable if I choose not to eat. I want you to go ahead and eat and be good with that. I will find that when you kind of pre-pave the event with that conversation ahead of time, it can really set things up for a positive experience. They know what to expect from you. You know what to expect from you and from them, and everybody is going to be fine. And again, use your own health, use your own goals, and don't make any apologies for the boundaries that you set for yourself with confidence. I've shared before that boundaries for you are not the same as an ultimatum for another. You don't want to get in the game of, setting ultimatums saying, I'm only going to go out with you if you don't eat or you don't drink or anything like that. So you're just setting boundaries for yourself and you're expressing them in a way that's very healthy, not only for you, but also for them. And then again, just come up with that polite but firm way of declining food or alcohol if that's what you choose to do. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it so much. I'm just going to stick with water. I'm driving. I'm on a health kick. I'm taking a break, or I've chosen to give up alcohol, period, whatever it is. Same with food. Make no apologies because you absolutely don't need to apologize for any of that. Now, as I mentioned, eat before you go, if at all possible, or eat enough to satiate yourself, and then you can nibble the rest of the time. I do that a lot of times when I'm going out to dinner. I will eat enough to satiate myself, but then I'll order a small plate or an appetizer or something small to where I can still feel like I don't just feel like it. I'm part of the event and I'm eating and I'm, honoring my server and all of that. And I always tip well regardless, but I'm honoring my body as well. Now, if you're going to an event, a party or a dinner or something, and you have the opportunity to bring something, bring your own healthy option to share with others and to load up your own plate with. So again, you are taking care of you. And then more than anything, really and truly, these special events, time spent with people, is most specifically about conversation, community, and connection rather than food. So put your own emphasis on that first. Be mindful of that and have a goal of how to start conversations that are beyond the food and the beverage and the different things along the things that are on the table or the bar that go along with all that. Focus on good conversation, asking great questions, getting people involved in discussing themselves and all that's going on with them. And then again, have that go-to response for when you feel like people are pressuring you. I've covered that a few times, but I really want to drive that point home. The more empowered and confident you can be just expressing, oh no, thank you. I'm choosing not to indulge in that tonight or today. And you can give a because, or you don't even have to. But do whatever's going to make you feel empowered, make you feel confident, and basically let the chips fall where they may, pun intended. Hopefully the chips will fall in the dip and not in your mouth. And just really, truly work to enjoy yourself as much as possible. So I'm going to ask you, have you ever felt pressured to eat or drink when you didn't want to? Drop a comment below. Let us know how you handle those type of situations. Give us some of your best tips and help the community thrive and jive and stay alive as we do all of this. Grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com. I'm Jackie Elmer. Thanks for spending this time here with me today.